Today we're talking about our peanut butters and personal relationships. No, that's not what PB and PR stand for, is it? At least not in this case.
I
Yeah, PB
think
is
pro ball,
pro ball.
pro ball. I'm talking about LeBron James, and
And what's PR?
PR is Patrick Rozuski.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's principal's room.
Ah, that's what it was. Yes,
It's not even an office, it's just a room.
yes. Maybe it's Pat Rick. That could be it.
Patrick, that's his initials,
Yeah.
his full name. Okay, we're just making stupid jokes now. It's personal best and personal record. They mean the same thing. Some places use one more than the other, or some apps. I think Strava uses PR.
I guess so. I've always been a PB kind of guy, but lately a lot of people
Hmm.
around me say PR.
In China, they exclusively use PB, and they'll even use it as a verb, like I PB'd, which
No,
sounds kind of bad in English. I
I
PB'd.
I said that in English. Oh yeah, I PB'd this morning.
Yeah, whereas in English, we'll usually say I broke my PR or I set a new PB, set a new PR. And
Great.
that's what we're talking about today. And Liam, you mentioned a few episodes ago that your PB for full marathon was 3 hours, 38 minutes.
Yes, and I've just pulled up the spreadsheet. I know it's even more exciting than that. It was actually 3 hours, 37 minutes, 55 seconds. So it was
That's
five
5 seconds
seconds
more
fast.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah,
Imagine what would
that's
happen if you shaved your head.
yeah. I'd be so much more aerodynamic.
That's like 30 seconds off there, right there.
Yeah, I have to shave my legs next time too.
Yeah. Yeah, shave your whole body.
Yeah, to shave off my PR time, PB time.
Literally. Uh, so what year was this? How long ago was this?
I have the exact date here, September 22nd, 2021. Wow, that's a lot longer than I thought it was.
21. Hmm. I had barely started running. Uh,
Wow.
okay. Yes, folks, you heard correctly. We do have spreadsheets for our running times because we're total nerds, and and spreadsheets are great. I don't care what people say.
Yeah, and I guess I have my times on here, but for me, it's more about just keeping track of where I've run, and I like to compare it easily,
Yeah.
and a good way to remember that. And I write some notes if I feel there's an issue, like, oh, my ankle hurt. I write that down, and after 5 months, hey, it's always my right ankle that hurts. Maybe I should look into that, something
Okay.
like that.
It's like a doctor's log.
Yes, basically.
And mine is just an extension of my travel spreadsheet. So all the countries that I've been to and ones that I haven't been to. I have another tab just for running. And now I've started including trail runs and that kind of thing. So I'll say what kind of run it is. Well, first it goes by country, and then province or whatever, and then city. And well, time is the very first one. And then after that, it's whether it's road or trail, and then the distance. And then I'll have my time after I've completed it. And then I'll have any notes. If I had a PB, then I'll definitely put that PB for half marathon, PB for full marathon, and so on. And I can also use it as kind of a notepad for ones that I've registered for or ones that I'm still thinking about. And I need to keep track of the registration deadlines. So it's actually pretty handy and totally not nerdy at all.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Useful.
handy, handy dandy.
Yeah, my PR for a full marathon is 4 hours, 33 minutes. And that was a pretty recent one. This May, oh, no, sorry, last May. May 2024 in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. I've done 9 full marathons now. My first 5 were all over 5 hours. And then on my sixth one, I barely broke 5 hours by like 30 seconds.
Oh,
And then after that, my first one in China, I jumped by like 22 minutes. And I think at least part of it was that it was my first one outside of Southeast Asia, where you have to get up at 3 in the morning. So I think that definitely does affect it. And a lot of it's just experience, but being able to sleep a full night and then getting up at a pretty normal time, and then we started running it. 8, and it was really cold. So if it hadn't been that cold, I might have been a few minutes faster. And then I shaved another few minutes off in Mongolia. My slowest one was actually 5 hours, 40 minutes in Singapore, mostly because I hadn't trained for the month leading up to it. I was very busy on a work project and got like 3 runs in the whole month. And plus, there was a really big bridge that took me 10 minutes, according to my splits. But yeah, that's my
I can
pace
do it.
for full marathon. I think I'll break 4 hours eventually. Right now, I think it's good to have a short-term goal and then a long-term goal. My short-term goal is just to break 4.5 hours. So I just need 3 minutes more. And I've been running quite a bit lately, so I don't think that's too far away. My long-term goal, I'll be happy if I break 4 hours. And I don't really have any ambitious, oh, I've got to break 3 hours or I've got to qualify for the Boston Marathon or anything like that. I mostly just want to travel, and I think it's cool to visit lots of countries and run different marathons and different courses, and even the people that you run with are different. The crowd is different, and the way it's organized is different. And I think it's just really interesting to have the comparison, but mostly just as an excuse to go to all these countries.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's also interesting that you have kind of kept track of your slowest one as well. Because I
Yeah.
guess that's another, I have it clearly in my mind. I know exactly when my slowest one was, like where it was and how bad I felt during that. So I
Mm,
guess it's not really something that people like to brag about, but it's definitely just as memorable. Well,
maybe even more
it's pretty
memorable.
memorable. Yeah. Yeah, in my slowest one, I got hit by a bike and I had to walk almost 20 kilometers. So I, it was the winter. I was already kind of on an iffy ankle, and I went out of the path to a no bikes allowed pedestrian only zone to use the bathroom. I didn't have my headphones or my phone or anything on me that day, so I was like clearly focused on the street. I left the bathroom when I was walking, and a bike came behind me and hit me very slowly. It was an older man on a bike, and I fell into a fence. And I looked around, and my instinct, maybe it's because I'm Canadian, was to apologize. And he said, "Watch where
I'm
you're
sorry for getting
going."
in your way.
I, yeah, I was like, "Watch where I'm going. This sign says no bikes. I don't even have a phone on me. I got nothing to look at." And he
I
drove away.
redact my apology, sir.
Yeah, exactly. I
Kindly be on your
redacted it.
way. Hmm.
Yeah, but because I had no phone or money or anything, I had no choice but to walk the rest, which was yeah, 15 kilometers ish. So it was well over 6 hours for that run, and very memorable. Every time I pass that bathroom, I remember. And there's a CCTV camera there, so I think maybe I could get him. I could track him
While you're on China Central Television, going to the public bathroom
down.
and getting hit
Yeah,
by a bike coming out,
I'm
I'd watch
famous. I
that.
made it on TV.
Um, was that an official marathon? Like, did you have a chip?
Yes, so it's I guess it's a very small one they had. My PB as well was at the same place. It's a interesting one they call the Park Love Marathon in Seoul. It's kind of like park runs. I guess I don't know if that's why they called it that. Um, and yeah, it's the same course. It got really popular during the pandemic because I guess you can leave at any time you want. There's a chip at the beginning and someone in the middle, I guess to make sure you're not cheating. And people just run on their own the whole time. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's where I did my PB and this one. So it was very lonely. It was cold that day, so maybe probably less than 10 runners. So about 10, 15 minutes later, I saw another runner as I was hobbling along, and he said, "What happened? You were doing so well." And he was a much older man, like almost 70 years old. And I told him, he's like, "Oh, he's lucky I was in there. I would have got him." And I said, "Well, thank you for that, but you're almost 70 years old." But anyways, yes, it was an interesting run with just a few runners. Very lonely.
And do they do the same course each time?
Yes, so that is
Mm.
very mentally challenging because it's a
So
10
boring.
kilometer loop. And yeah,
Loops
you just go
suck.
back and forth 4 times. And that's, um, I guess I can, my PB for a full course is actually at the end of a 5 day in a row marathon event. So I think I could probably get a bit faster. But so during the big holidays, there's a holiday called Chuseok in Korea, and it's 4 or 5 days depending on the year. And that year it was Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. and every day we ran a full marathon, and it's the same 10K and back, and then 10K and back. So over 5 days, that's
Ooh.
no 25 times, no 20 times, 20 times, 20 times on the same loop, and it's so mentally boring. But
That
somehow I
sounds
PB'd on the
so.
last day.
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I can do that just because of
Yeah,
the
it's
agonizing boredom.
yeah, and quite often there's not many people, so it's really, really a mental challenge. So everywhere else is fun to run now, thanks to that.
Did a lot of people do all 5 days?
Only maybe two or three.
Okay. Not everyone's crazy.
Yeah, and it depends on the length of the holiday kind of changes every year. It lines up, I guess, date-wise with like the Mid-Autumn Festival in China. So that's a bigger holiday here. Like
Yep.
it's the main holiday of the year. So
Mm.
people get some time off work. This, I guess, 1.5 years ago, 2023, it was 8 days because it lined up with another holiday. And I
Oh wow.
only did 7 days, but I still completed that, I guess, and did not get a PB then. I thought about it, but my body was not feeling that.
But that's already a personal record, right?
Yes, at
Seven
different
full
times, yeah.
marathons back to back? That's
Yeah,
nuts. I don't even know how many kilometers that is. I'm incapable of calculating that without a
it's
calculator.
more than 42. That's all I know.
42.195
Well, yes, yeah.
each.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of
Yes.
half marathons?
I used to do a lot more. Now, I guess now that I've done a lot of kind of too many full marathons in that way, I want to get back into half marathons and um,
Cut
10Ks,
back a bit.
5Ks. I'd actually, yeah, come back and really just actually try and get some kind of PB that I'm happy with. That's kind of something I'd like
Mm.
to try because up until now, as I've mentioned, I run a lot in costumes and just for fun, run slow, meditation pace. I've used a lot of words like that. So I haven't really focused on a PB. But like I mentioned in our New Year's resolution episode, I said I would like to train for a race or two this year. So I'd really like to hit some landmarks I have in mind.
It's the opposite way that most people do it. At first, they're like really gung ho about the training part. Then after a while, they kind of stop caring and just go out and run. Whereas we kind of did it the other way around and just ran for fun for a
We're,
few years. And okay, now I'm ready just to actually start getting serious about this. But
yeah,
different goals,
that's
right?
we're kind of yeah, we're some weird people. And you have a half marathon PB
I've only
or do
run a
you have
few
plans to do one?
official half marathons. By the way, I don't know about your definition of official, but mine is it just has to have a chip time. Because you can go out and find a river, just run along a river for 42 kilometers. You just ran a marathon. But the thing is, most people won't consider that a marathon.
Right.
When you say marathon, people think of, the crowd and the finish line, yeah, and then you have a medal and stuff. So to other people, a half marathon and a full marathon are pretty much the same thing. But to your body, 21K and 42K are very different. And whether you do it on your own or with a big crowd is pretty much the same. So I think it's good to have a clear definition and add official just to make it official. Half marathons, I think I run maybe four. And my first one, without even looking at my pace or anything until I finished, I think it was 2 hours, 7 minutes. So like a 6 minute pace, very steadily. And then my second one, also without trying to actually go fast, I just went as fast as felt comfortable, was 1 hours, 55 minutes. And then the past 6 months, I've had some back discomfort, so my times were a little bit slower. I haven't broken 155 yet, but still around 2 hours, give or take a few minutes. Do you know yours?
I do. Mine, it was an easy course. I need to preface with that. There was a big net downhill, beautiful course. It was Sunshine Coast in British Columbia, Canada, called the
Okay.
April Fool's Half.
Mm.
And yeah, it was so much downhill. There was a hill up in the middle, but net downhill, it's much easier. So mine, it was 1 hour and 31 minutes exactly.
Yeah, that's super fast.
But unfortunately, that's like almost 6 years ago now. Yeah, I'd like to get back to that, but it was extremely downhill. So I will come back. But I was also in a dinosaur costume, so I was very
Mm.
surprised that day, as was everyone else who saw me running.
Yeah, I think an hour 45 is already pretty solid. So for now, my short-term goal is first of all to get my back fixed so I can actually run fast.
Oh, good one.
And yeah, I think an hour 50 minutes is pretty reasonable, and then go from there. I do like full marathon better just because you can kind of take your time, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to worry too much about like, oh, I went to the bathroom 3 times instead of my usual twice. It's not really going to make a big difference just because the gross time is so much longer. Whereas a half marathon, halfway through, if I have to go to the bathroom, I'll be stressing about it. Like, oh, if I go to the bathroom, it'll take 2 minutes off, but I really have to pee. Should I go? Ah, that's good. I'll just do it. So it becomes more of an issue. And then I usually don't
Yeah.
stop at the drink station or anything like that. Like I won't drink water just because, unless it's hot, because I know that it'll kill 30 seconds. And
Right.
you can make it through a half marathon without drinking water, uh, up to a certain point, like the
Yeah.
winter ones that I'm doing in
Right.
Beijing.
Definitely. That's
And that's another thing about half marathon is you can kind of just do it as you're training. Like most people won't run full marathons just for fun and training. But half marathon, you can just go and just do 2 laps around a big park, and that's a half marathon. So it's well within the bounds of what the human body can take.
yeah.
And because of that, it tends to be more about the speed. Like finishing a half marathon is not that hard. And so people tend to try to run faster. Whereas with a full marathon, just completing it is so hard that your time matters a lot less. I don't know if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yes. I think that makes sense.
If you really care about your times and that kind of thing, and you like, comparing yourself to others, then maybe half marathon is better. But if you just like running for the sake of running and you want the challenge and to meet people and go places, then full marathon is probably more fun.
Yeah. And what about a 10K, 5K,
Mm.
1K, 1 mile, or 8K, anything else in the middle?
I ran a 10K at lunch today, and my pace was exactly 6 minutes. So I
Oh, okay.
ran 10K in exactly 60 minutes. And yeah, usually if I'm just on my own, around an hour. Uh, I can't remember the last time I actually did an official. I think I did the Sun Run a few years ago,
Yeah.
and my time was, it was over an hour. I think it was like an hour, 7 minutes. It was in, this is kind of before I started running, and I think the Sun Run is in May. I think I had run like once or twice after the snow had melted. And so I really did no preparation. Yeah, it was with work. Like the company I was working for at the time let us sign up. So I did it as part of that without any actual preparation. And I worked at a high school, and I was still faster than most of the students. Some of them were like 2.5 hours. Like, come on, you stop for coffee, okay?
My, yes, for the shorter ones I've tried, I don't really remember any 10K PBs. A long time ago in 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 Surrey, there was one also a big net downhill. I think it was maybe 46 minutes. But
Hmm.
then later on, when I ran my half marathon PB, I had a faster 10K split within the half marathon. So I'm sure I can go
Hmm.
faster, but I just haven't officially done it yet. As for 5K, there was an evening run, an evening in the summer called the Longest Day 5K on UBC campus in Vancouver. And it's quite a nice course. And I got 20 minutes and like 10 seconds. I was so close to the breaking the 20-minute mark. That was when I did a lot of speed training and
Oh wow,
I
that's,
was
that's
very
pretty
close.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
so
very fast.
I'd like to go back and finally break like all those. I'd like to break 20 minutes on the 10 on the 5K, get close to 40 minutes on a 10K would be nice. Break 130 for the half, and those would be some nice goals, but I haven't been doing speed training very much lately.
Mm. I can do 25 they're on a treadmill. I was breaking 25 for a while, but I've just gotten back into the speed training. and you have to slowly ramp up at it, right? Like I'll just add a little
Right.
bit each time. So on a treadmill, it goes by speed. And I think today I did 11.8 kilometers per hour. So it's only 1 second less per kilometer. So 5 minutes
Mm.
off your pace. Sorry, five seconds off your total time, which is about 1 second off your pace. So
Yeah.
5:09. The next time will be 5:08, then 5:07. Yeah, and then eventually I'll break 5 minutes. But I don't particularly like running fast. I tend to cramp up. I think that's pretty normal, but I just don't find it as fun as I've, the really long runs. I think they're much more adventurous.
Yeah.
Plus, I
Especially
can't run
if it's like
fast.
a travel run. Yeah. If
Yeah,
it's a travel run, you go to travel and you only see 5K. It's kind of like, well, like I came all this way. Why not just sign up for the longest distance and see as much of the country as I can?
yeah. Uh, I've been looking at some other running events around China. There's tons of them, by the way. Like you can go pretty much any weekend, and there's either a trail run or a marathon somewhere. And if it's between a half marathon and a full marathon, I'll definitely take the full, because why would I travel across the like over 1,000 kilometers just to do a half marathon? But I'm also starting to register for trail runs, and I do it the opposite way. So I'll start like maybe 20 plus K, and then there are some that go up to 50 plus, 100. There was one that was 168 kilometers. You have 48 hours to finish it. So I just start at the smallest ring and then work my way up from there. As if you don't really have any experience with it, then it's not a good idea to attempt to run like 100 kilometers in a day. You'll regret it.
Yeah, especially on a trail. I think that's a different world completely.
That's all for today's episode. We could easily do a whole episode on trail running because I know you have quite a bit of experience trail running, and I'm just starting to get into it. So why don't we do that one next? Trail running.
Perfect. Sounds like trail.
Goodbye.